Welcome back to Resistance Chicks. The intro didn't work there. I guess I didn't have it queued up. I was trying to help Mom figure out something for the future. Anyway, how are ya? Today's the 24th of January, 2020. You know what that means? It means that today was the March for Life.
It's awesome.
And not just in D.C. And yes, Trump did speak. He spoke a speech. Speaked. But Trump all around America, there were different marches for life. And I think that that's really cool that if this is a movement. Oh, geez, now we're really bright there coloring. Hang on, no, I'll just turn the auto white balance off. There we go. It was really, really amazing to see our president stand up and take such a firm stance for the sanctity of life, defending the unborn. I think his exact quote was, and I have it here in the description, unborn children have never had a stronger defender in the White House.
It's so powerful. I was not shocked because every time Trump comes out, it's always something amazing. And he did not disappoint. And it's just funny, like the thought literally came to me. Trump will go where people want him to go. Yeah. He's like, you mean these people want me at the March for Life? I'm going to be there.
Exactly.
These people are going to be there. I love that he loves to be where people are.
Right.
You know, I get enough to get out of bed during the day, right? Like, he'd just be like, people want me over in Alaska? I'm there, man.
Right.
You know, people want me there? I'm there, man. He's like, where people want him, he's going to go. And it's absolutely amazing. And so, Michelle, if you would just want to get it going because...
Yep. We're going to just play his whole speech.
Yeah. It's worth it.
We're just going to kick it off right with that. Without further ado.
It's historic. It's a historic
speech. Thank you, Jeannie.
Now let me know if I need to adjust the volume, guys.
It's my profound honor to be the first president in history to attend the March for Life. We're here for a very simple reason, to defend the right of every child, born and unborn, to fulfill their God-given potential. For 47 years, Americans of all backgrounds have traveled from across the country to stand for life. And today, as President of the United States, I am truly proud to stand with you. I want to welcome tens of thousands, this is a tremendous turnout, tens of thousands of high school and college students who took long bus rides to be here in our nation's capital. And to make you feel even better, there are tens of thousands of people outside that we passed on the way in. If anybody would like to give up their spot, we can work that out. You have a tremendous group of people outside, thousands and thousands wanted to get in. This is some great success.
You know what you can go? You can skip the...
are the heart of the March for Life.
Yeah, I'm so glad the senators are here.
Making America the pro-family, pro-life nation.
At Bluehost, you're not just making a website. You're making an...
What is with that?
The life movement is led by strong women, amazing faith leaders, and brave students who carry on the legacy of pioneers before us who fought to raise the conscience of our nation and uphold the rights of our citizens. You embrace mothers with care and compassion. You are powered by prayer and motivated by pure, unselfish love. You're grateful, and we are so grateful. These are incredible people to be joined by Secretary Alex Azar and Kellyanne Conway.
Are these the accolades you want me to skip through?
I think we
and thanks also to Senators Mike Lee and James Lankford, Chris Smith, Bucker.
I'm happy these people are
Brian
there, but I don't care.
Politicians in the audience, but if you don't mind, I won't introduce them all.
There you go.
All of us here today understand an eternal truth. Every child is a precious and sacred gift from God. The conscience of our nation. The audience. Together, we must protect, cherish, and defend the dignity and the sanctity of every human life. When we see the image of a baby in the womb, we glimpse the majesty of God's creation. When we hold a newborn in our arms, we know the endless love that each child brings to a family.
I love it.
When we watch a child grow, we see the splendor that radiates from each human soul. One life changes the world. From my family, and I can tell you, I send love, and I send great, great love. And from the first day in office, I've taken a historic action to support America's families and to protect the unborn. And during my first week in office, I reinstated and expanded the Mexico City policy, and we issued a landmark pro-life rule to govern the use of Title X taxpayer funding.
It's a really big deal. Yeah, no abortions across...
I notified Congress that I would veto any legislation that weakens pro-life policies or that encourages the destruction of human life. At the United Nations, I made clear that global bureaucrats have no business attacking the sovereignty of nations that protect innocent life. Unborn children have never had a stronger defender in the White House.
That's it right there.
And as the Bible tells us, each person is wonderfully made.
Fearfully and wonderfully made.
We have taken decisive action to protect the religious liberty. So important, religious liberty has been under attack all over the world, and frankly, very strongly attacked in our nation. You see it better than anyone, but we are stopping it, and we're taking care of doctors, nurses, teachers, and groups like the Little Sisters of the Poor. We are preserving faith-based adoption, and to uphold our founding documents, we have confirmed 187 federal judges.
That's a lot. It's really historic.
Who apply the Constitution as written, including two phenomenal Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh. We are protecting pro-life students' right to free speech on college campuses.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Those prices are good for today only.
Fox News. I should have played something else. Oh, well.
And if universities want federal taxpayer dollars, then they must uphold your First Amendment right to speak your mind. And if they don't, they pay a very big financial penalty, which they will not be willing to pay. Sadly, the far left is actively working to erase our God-given rights, shut down faith-based charities, ban religious believers from the public square, and silence Americans who believe in the sanctity of life. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you, and we are fighting for those who have no voice, and we will win because we know how to win.
I love Alveda King right behind
him. We all know how to win.
Coretta Scott.
We all know how to win.
Alveda.
You've been winning for a long time.
No, Coretta Scott was
You've been winning for a long time.
Alveda.
Together we are the voice for the voiceless. When it comes to abortion, Democrats, and you know this, you've seen what's happened, Democrats have embraced the most radical and extreme positions taken and seen in this country for years and decades, and you could even say for centuries. Nearly every top Democrat in Congress now supports taxpayer-funded abortion all the way up until the moment of birth. Last year, lawmakers in New York cheered with delight upon the passage of legislation that would allow a baby to be ripped from the mother's womb right up until delivery. Then we had the case of the Democrat governor in the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we love the Commonwealth of Virginia, but what is going on in Virginia? What is going on? The governor stated that he would execute a baby after birth. You remember that? Senate Democrats even blocked legislation that would give medical care to babies who survive attempted abortions. And that's why I've called on Congress, two of our great senators here, so many of our congressmen here, and called upon them to defend the dignity of life and to pass legislation prohibiting late-term abortion of children who can feel pain in their mother's womb. This year, the March for Life is celebrating the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which forever enshrined women's rights to vote in the United States and given by the United States Constitution. Such a big event. Today, millions of extraordinary women across America are using the power of their votes to fight for the right and all of their rights as given in the Declaration of Independence. It's the right to life. To all the women here today, your devotion and your leadership uplifts our entire nation, and we thank you for that. The tens of thousands of Americans gathered today not only stand for life, it's really here that they stand for it so proudly together, and I want to thank everybody for that. You stand for life each and every day. You provide housing, education, jobs, and medical.
I was on it this time with the ad. I saw it coming up. Yeah. Unbelievable.
To the women that you serve, you find loving families for children in need of a forever home. You host baby showers for expecting moms. You just make it your life's mission to help spread God's grace.
I have goosebumps.
And to all of the moms here today, we celebrate you and we declare that mothers are heroes. Your strength, devotion, and drive is what powers our nation. And because of you, our country has been blessed with amazing souls who have changed the course of human history. We cannot know what our citizens, yet unborn, will achieve, the dreams they will imagine, the masterpieces they will create, the discoveries they will make. But we know this: every life brings love into this world. Every child brings joy to a family. Every person is worth protecting. And above all, we know that every human soul is divine, and every human life, born and unborn, is made in the holy image of Almighty God. Together, we will defend this truth all across our magnificent land. We will set free the dreams of our people. And with determined hope, we look forward to all of the blessings that will come from the beauty, talent, purpose, nobility, and grace of every American child. I want to thank you. This is a very special moment. It's so great to represent you. I love you all. And I say with true passion, thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you.
That speech was so fantastic.
Some of the comments were in there, that's why I voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Somebody said they should call it attempted murder. and talking about life and preserving life and the dignity of human beings. And, you know, you're in essence, when you talk about being pro-life, you talk about being pro-family, you talk about being pro-human, you talk about the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You know, leftists like to say it's my body, my choice, but it's not your body, so it's not your choice.
Right.
It is a sticky situation when people get pregnant and they're not ready to take care of a child, but there are families out there who are ready to take care of children. We do need to make adoption easier. We have friends who can't have kids that
and
have
it's $40,000 to adopt a child.
Yeah, so we need to make adoption a bigger and more available thing, because there are women out there, they're not going to be raising their kids.
Well, and as an example, here in our own family, I can tell you just how easy it is, how easy of a process it should be.
Yeah.
For adoption. I don't think we've actually ever told this story, but I think we're allowed to now because it's 2 years in. But we had a miracle. Our cousin, who's like our brother, you guys know Uncle Jack, his son, I'll just leave names out, but he and his wife were believing God for a child. And their little son is our little cousin. I think he's 11 now. And he was praying. He's been praying since he was, I don't know, since he could talk, for a little brother or sister. And that's all he wanted. And he just believed God that he would have a sibling.
Try to make a long story short.
And so...
don't give too many details.
So they were going to go the adoption route. They were praying about that. And then they heard about a child that was not yet born, that the mom was going to try to find a home for or whatever. And that was a week before the child was born. Then... within those 7 days, they are allowed to go to the hospital the day of the birth. The child goes straight from birth to our cousin, and he's been in our family ever since. From that day, they didn't go through an adoption agency. They did get a lawyer for some paperwork. They had to go through, like, the state had to come in and kind of make sure that they were, whatever. But, like, the costs, I think, were, like, less than $200. I don't know. That's just a guess. But adopting a child that doesn't have a home can be very, very, very streamlined.
It should be.
And the fact that it costs $40,000 for somebody outside of a miracle scenario like that.
Exactly.
It's absurd.
It's absurd.
It doesn't make any sense when you have so many families. And it's interesting because I don't know if I want to play any of this, but I do have it queued up. Millie went... at the March for Life. Millie
She
Weaver,
likes to go talk to the protesters.
And she went and talked to one of the protesters, and that was like one of the longest parts of her live stream was talking to this young lady who I think she had been raped
and had an abortion.
And Millie was like, that's horrible, that's awful, but there are so many people here that would have adopted your child.
Yeah.
So if you're in a scenario, there are so many programs out there to help you if you want to be a mom and keep your child, which I believe every woman should.
Right.
Okay. But if you can't do that, there are also programs out there that will help you find a loving, Christian, godly home for your child, so you do not have to have an abortion. And today, Trump solidified his presidency with life, because people have gone back 10 years, 20 years ago, whatever. He said, I'm pro-choice in every sense of the word. Well, you know what, people can change. Today he's pro-life in every sense of the word.
Well, I think I remember him saying, actually, I am pro-life. I am pro-life. I like
No, they
life.
have quotes. I was looking it up. In 1999, he's quoted as saying, I am pro-choice in every sense of the word. Okay, but people can change, and you have to allow for that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just so excited. I don't know if you want me to play any clips of any of the other people that were there at the rally.
If you have them up, go ahead.
I do. I got to figure out which tab they are, but I have Millie's stream, and I have this guy here, Unite America First. He goes to a lot of the rallies. He was having some streaming difficulties with quality, but you can kind of every once in a while you can kind of
is America.
Get a feel
waking
for the crowd.
up to what the Democrats have been doing. This is America right here. This is what control the narrative. They're going to control how everything goes. And that's their agenda, to
we have a peaceful crowd.
Control everybody and everything.
But anyway, I really just wanted to kind of give you an idea of the crowd as they're kind of coming and showing up, and
it is amazing.
Peaceful people, how excited he is.
It is absolutely amazing. When I was coming up here, it looked like there was a school band, and it was probably maybe 200 of them marching. They had all these yellow outfits on, March for Your Life. Had the drums, the trombones. They were just going at it, full steam ahead.
I love that there's a school band. So let's go here to Millie. This is the young woman that she was speaking with, and her conversation was very enlightening. And I think that Millie did a great job of telling this young lady a lot of facts that she didn't have.
It's really hard to hear though.
Sometimes it isn't.
Okay.
Sometimes
you don't have to go through hell. Why would you go through hell though?
Okay, so here's where she was talking about how she's a small girl and giving birth would be very difficult, and I understand that, but Millie's argument is, but what about the baby? What about the life there? Mm-hmm. So they did this kind of speech here where they're just kind of, these are pro-lifers.
People standing right there on the curbside with their signs, I regret my abortion and I regret lost fatherhood. In a few moments, as the others who have those signs come reaching the Supreme Court here, they will assemble and we will have several hours of testimony. So I want to invite those of you.
So, I think that's it for the videos that I want to show. Let me go ahead and get back to the main screen and get our lighting fixed here now that Leah's got the other background up. But my takeaway, if you didn't get a chance to listen to Trump's speech or the speeches afterwards, I just want to kind of, obviously you saw Trump's speech, I just mean live, and then afterwards, people got up that they had two women that spoke that were abortion survivors, and then they had their children come up, and you see generationally what the impact is when a life is saved from an abortion attempt, from an attempted murder, like Gio said in the chat. And I just loved that they have that you can see. And the woman even said she hears a lot that there's no such thing as a botched abortion, like a failed abortion, like it just doesn't happen. And the lady's like, I am one, like, yes, it does happen. You don't think about that. What happens to it? She said, I was soaked in saline for 5 days and then I was born. And what do they do with me now?
And the Democrats want you to be able to be killed. At that point, you're born, so you have to be given life. Trump war team tweeted this out. Pete Buttigieg is a pro-abortion extremist. Says that life does not actually begin until a baby takes its first breath.
Now, right now, they hold everybody in line with this one kind of piece of doctrine about abortion, right? Which is obviously a tough issue for a lot of people to think through morally. Then again, there's a lot of parts of the Bible that talk about how life begins with breath. And so even that is something that we can interpret differently. And
I'm pro-choice.
Pick up, me too. Yeah. But I think no matter where you think about the kind of cosmic question of how life begins, most Americans can get on the board with the idea of, all right, I might draw the line here, you might draw the line there. But the most important thing is the person who should be drawing the line is the woman making the decision.
The Bible says that life begins with breath. Actually, David says, before you knew me,
before you formed me in the womb, you knew me.
And he says, you wove me together in my mother's womb. You literally wove me together. One of my biggest pro-life arguments would be that Mary was pregnant with Jesus, goes to visit her cousin Elizabeth, who's pregnant with John the Baptist, and John the Baptist leaps in her womb, and Elizabeth is like, even my son knows you're carrying the Son of God. Like, John the Baptist was communicating with Jesus in the womb. You can't kill that. You can't. They're literally, John the Baptist was communicating with Jesus, the Son of God, womb to womb.
Hey, Pete,
that's life.
Pete, stay out of the Bible. No, go ahead and read it. Stay out of quoting it until you are are transformed and saved by the word of God, because you're just going to fail miserably.
I have one of those dumbfounding thoughts. So Mary was called to go to Elizabeth. You think she wants to hide from her relatives while she's pregnant, right?
Right.
And Elizabeth happens to be pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, Mary wasn't going. Jesus was going to ccall John.
Yeah, exactly.
John got
That's
his
really
calling
good.
when Jesus went
That's
there.
really good, Mom.
Exactly,
I like that.
exactly.
I
Here
love
we
that.
have Dan Crenshaw is a super pro-life guy.
Here because we value life and we understand
He also
how
wants to be
important it is
president.
for our country. And everybody say hello.
Unashamedly.
Happy crowd. Obama was the first president to address Planned Parenthood's annual conference. Today, Donald Trump addressed.
What a special treat that was to have the most pro-life president, Donald Trump, come and make history by addressing this group. Just think about this contrast. In 2013, Barack Obama became the first president to address Planned Parenthood's annual conference. Today, Donald Trump became the first president to address the March for Life.
That's so great. It's so great. And I don't think that people quite grasp the significance of that, because the mood in our country since Trump has become president has shifted so drastically. And maybe you're young enough that you don't even remember what it was like for, the prior, 2-3 presidents, okay? Whether it was Obama or Clinton or Bush. But you couldn't talk about the things of the Lord. You couldn't stand unabashedly as a president and proclaim the name of Jesus Christ. Like, you're just not, and life and sanctity. Like, it was almost like abortion had to be a bipartisan issue where you just kind of, you kind of say, well, I believe in life, but it's every woman's choice, but now Trump can come out, he can quote the Bible properly, unlike Pete Buttigieg. He can talk about honoring women, calling mothers heroes. It's amazing. It's a huge change from the atmosphere that we had 8 years prior to Trump, 16 years prior to Trump. Okay, it's amazing. It's so great. Steve Scalise can come out. He's the majority house whip and just say, I'm
Irish pro-life USA. The overflow and record numbers must be 1 million or so. Official count shortly. At the March for Life, Washington, D.C. today, proud to defend the unborn in Ireland and to honor lawmakers and activists at home who are leading the pro-life cause. Irish Pro-Life USA. There we go. There's a sign. I regret my abortion.
And it's okay to say that.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of this hidden secret where once a woman has had an abortion, and then the emotions set in.
Yeah.
And the trauma sets in that is not pushed on them by society. It's just natural. They are then made to feel like they aren't allowed to talk about it. That's so wrong. They're silenced. Yeah. That's a trauma that happened to you because you were lied to by society.
Jesus loves the little children of the world.
I love it.
Jesus loves the little children.
It's okay to say, I regret my abortion. It's a good thing to say.
Bernie Sanders tweeted out today that abortion is health care. Abortion is death care.
No, it is death care. Because if they really cared about the woman, they would encourage her. They would give her all of her options. But when you walk into a Planned Parenthood facility, you are not given any other options. There are no pamphlets out there for families that want to adopt or programs that will help you keep your baby if you want to. Mm-hmm. So if they really cared about woman's choice, they would give her all the options.
Marching today.
Minute break from the trial. I'm out here marching with the March for Life, proud to stand with hundreds of thousands of Americans defending the right to life.
I think that Ted Cruz still has presidential aspirations as well, because he's always live streaming, just like Dan Crenshaw. It's going to come down to the two of them.
And you spoke about this recently. You even said, revealed in reaction to it, that your father voted for the president.
He did.
Are evangelicals still behind the president?
No question, 100%.
That's Franklin Graham.
He's not the pastor of our country. He's not a perfect person, and none of us are. We're all flawed individuals. But he's a man who has stood for the Christian faith. He's not apologetic about it.
Right.
He's pro-life, which we see here. Look at this. This is huge. He supports religious freedom. No president has ever done this. And so I just, I'm confident that I think God is maybe behind this. And he's, again, he's a flawed individual like we all are, but my father saw something in him. And he just felt he was the right man for this particular period of American history to lead this nation.
There's about 25 million more evangelical voters who could register for the president. The campaign is really targeting those voters. Do you see more coming out for the president even than did in 2016?
I think so. I really do. Because now the president has a track record. He told the evangelicals what he was going to do. He told the church what he was going to do. And he has carried out his promises.
So, I think that it's important for us to play this other side, because if you have family members, some of them who don't watch the news, maybe they don't watch Fox News, they are going to say, oh, well, Donald Trump is this, Donald Trump is that, Donald Trump is this, whatever. Yeah. But every time I go back to it, I'm like, but he's fighting for me. Against people who hate me.
Steve Scalise, I think, was the one that addressed that today in the speech. He literally said that. And he was like, look, President Trump is supporting life.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then he does say, though, because I guess he was asked this question, right? Well, as a Christian, how can you support President Trump? He's like, did you ask that of anybody about Obama?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, how is that even a thing? I mean, the fact that we as Christians are supposed to walk in forgiveness, we're supposed to look for the redemptive qualities of Christ in somebody, and when we see them, we are supposed to praise God for them.
Yes.
And so when we see the redemptive qualities of Christ in Donald Trump and how he's changed, well, how dare he say this before and this now? Well, what he's saying now is right. What he's saying now is good. It is honorable. It is true.
But see, and
he's following it by actions.
That's what I was going to say. He's not just saying it. Like, he's appointed two of the most pro-life judges he could have put on the Supreme Court.
Do you understand that Supreme Court justices are there for life? He appointed two of them, and they're fairly young. So they've got a while to go, and they are pro-life. If Trump was pro-abortion like he probably was in the past, why would he do that?
He would have put a moderator on the court, would have been easy to push through. And that's what you see Donald Trump is fighting tooth and nail to do the right thing for us. And he literally says this, they're not after me, they're after you. Because he is literally representing, he decided, I want to represent those people.
Yep.
And so we keep giving him ideas. He's like, I like that. I'm representing those people.
Right.
The basket of deplorables.
He's had, I guess it was in 2017, he could have gone to the March for Life. In 2018, he could have gone to the March for Life. In 2019, he could have gone to the March for Life.
Went
but this year, he went.
Yeah.
And I think it's because...
He literally went. He didn't I think he did a stream. Didn't he do a stream last time or something? A little video?
Somebody can correct me on that. I think it was just Pence. I can't remember.
He did a little stream.
But the fact that he's like, oh, this is what you want me to do? Okay, I will go. And you know what? He didn't use it as a free Trump rally.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't go on about unemployment records. I mean, if they had let him, if he had wanted to, they would have let him do an hour-long Trump rally speech.
He didn't talk about impeachment, anything crazy like that.
He just talked about life.
Yeah.
And women and mothers.
We are so thankful for the most pro-life president that we have ever had. We are so thankful to President Trump for making tangible, mammoth strides to protect all human life. And we thank him for following through not only with his promises to protect the sanctity of all human life, but to do so many things for these precious preborn children, our most vulnerable community, who need us to be their voice. And we have a president who is making a difference for their most vulnerable community. Thank you, President Trump.
And that is who they're against. They're against these people. You know, it's absolutely crazy. Let's see every other video.
There is no greater gift than the gift of life, and to defend it is our cause. And we're just very happy to be here today, especially with the President speaking. The first time a president's ever addressed this march. I've been covering this march for 30 years, and there's nothing like this has ever happened before. We're so excited. Most pro-life president ever.
I love it. But of course, his voice doesn't matter because he's a man.
Right. Yeah. I forgot to say.
Oh, you know what I do have, Leah? Let me get to this because you had tweeted this out. And I think now would be a good time because this is what literally just came to mind.
Today is awesome. It's leadership at its finest. A way to show the country and to show everyone in the world that abortion is horrible, it's evil,
if you leave it small, they can read
and life is sacred.
Subtitles without us.
Native Americans.
All right, here we go. All right, here we've got Ronald Reagan. This is great.
I think all of us should have a respect for innocent life. With regard to the freedom of the individual for choice with regard to abortion, there's one individual who's not being considered at all. That's the one who's being aborted. And I've noticed that everybody that is for abortion has already been born.
And that's it. Everybody that is for abortion has already been born. Thank you, Ronald Reagan.
Bill Barr at the March for Life getting cheers from the crowd.
Oh my gosh. I love that so
we
much.
got so many people in the government now who just like love life. I mean, this is what we're talking about. This is why they weren't able to pull something at Virginia because Donald Trump said
winning. Just say it.
Donald Trump said, I'm going to drain the swamp. He's 3 years in. Okay? Imagine if he got 4 more years. He's pulling these deadbeats out, these horrible, awful people out, these people who did this. This is actually kind of a good little segue to this. This was from Zero Hedge today, authored by Jacob Hornberger of the Future of Freedom Foundation. They killed Martin Luther King for the same reason they killed Kennedy and for the same reason that they're going after Donald Trump. And this all the anti-Russia brouhaha that has enveloped our nation. We shouldn't forget that the U.S. national security establishment, specifically the Pentagon, CIA, and FBI, and this is why I brought up Bill Barr and just trying to pull people out of these top positions. Yeah. The Peter Strzoks, the Lisa Pages, the McCabe's, the Comeys, the Brennans, the CIA guys, the Clappers. These people who are pro-death, Satanists, communists at the very tippy top. These are the people who don't have to be elected, are there for however long they want to be there, pretty much, and they're literally not held accountable to anybody. Lawmakers are held accountable. You can elect people, and even Nancy Pelosi could be elected out. You know what I mean? Imagine if you knew what was going on behind the scenes. You might elect a different James Comey, right? So remember, they were convinced that Martin Luther King Jr. was a communist agent who was spearheading a communist takeover of the United States. And they believed it was their job to assassinate him.
Exactly.
Okay? This occurred during the Cold War when Americans were made to believe there was a gigantic international communist conspiracy to take over the United States, when there actually was, and that actually is true. There was, and there was a communist takeover, but MLK was not part of it. There was, in fact, the justification for converting the federal government to a national security state type of governmental structure after the end of World War II. The argument was that a limited government republic type of governmental structure, which was the nation's founding government system, was insufficient to prevent a communist takeover of the United States. To prevail over the communists in what was being called a Cold War, it would be necessary for the federal government, they said, to become a national security state so that it could wield the same type of sordid, dark side, totalitarian-like practices that the communists themselves wielded and exercised. The conviction that the communists were coming to get us became so predominant, they actually didn't do anything to stop it. They went into the schools, they went into the colleges, right? Millions of America became convinced that communists were everywhere, but they, in my opinion, they weren't able to identify where they really were or do anything to stop the ones,
bingo,
stop that at all, stop the rewriting of history. In the midst of this national paranoia, the FBI, the Pentagon, and the CIA became convinced that King was a communist agent. When King began criticizing the U.S. interventionism in Vietnam, that solidified their belief that he was a communist agent. After all, they maintained, wouldn't any true blue American patriot rally to his government in time of war, not criticize or condemn it? Only a communist, they believed, would oppose his government when it was committed to killing communists in Vietnam. And then we had King advocating for civil rights, especially in the South, and they thought that he was fomenting some sort of communist takeover. And so then they sent him this, and we know this, they sent him a box and a note that said, go kill yourself, right?
Unbelievable.
And then after 4 weeks of testimony and over 70 witnesses in the civil trial in Memphis, Tennessee, 12 jurors reached a unanimous verdict on December 8th, 1999, about an hour after deliberations. This is why I write credit Fatskin King, that Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. Mrs. Coretta Scott King welcomed the verdict, saying there is abundant evidence of a major high-level conspiracy in the assassination of my husband, Martin Luther King Jr. The jury was clearly convinced by the extensive evidence that was presented during the trial that, in addition to Mr. Jowers, the conspiracy of the mafia, the local, the state, federal governments were deeply involved in the assassination of my husband. So what you said, if you haven't seen our video with Barry Jones about the assassination of JFK at the highest levels of government.
Right.
So the United States National Security State, their job was to eradicate threats to national security, right? What bigger threat to national security than a person who was supposedly serving as an agent of the communists? That is what they were trying to do and say about Trump. Yeah. And say about you and me, basically. State-sponsored assassinations to protect national security were among the dark side practices that began to be utilized after the federal government was converted into a national security state. As early as 1953, the CIA was developing a formal assassination manual that trained agents in the art of assassination, and equally important, making sure it didn't look like the CIA did it. They obviously couldn't kill Fidel Castro. Like, they're really bad at that. At actually killing people who maybe could actually be a threat to the world, right? In 1954, the CIA targeted the democratically elected president of Guatemala for assassination because he was reaching out to Russia. In 1961, the CIA conspired to assassinate Patrice Lumumba, the head of the Congo, because he was...
Lumumba.
There's only one B.
Lumumba.
There you go.
Lumumba.
The world's premier criminal organization. He was having a relationship with the mafia there. And conspired to kill Fidel Castro. They horribly botched that. In 1973, the U.S. National Security State orchestrated a coup in Chile. The mountain of circumstantial evidence that was accumulated since November 1963 has established that foreign officials weren't the only ones who got targeted as threats to national security. Why did they target Kennedy? For the same reason they targeted all those other people for assassination. They concluded that Kennedy had become a grave threat to national security, and they believed it was their job to eliminate threats to national security. And I'm kind of extrapolating this in my own way. And this is why they felt like they had the rights to go after Donald Trump. You had Obama saying, hey, I think Trump is a threat to national security. So Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, Trump's not going to become president, is he? No. We will stop him.
Yeah. Well, and now, but they are so unashamedly open with their agenda to the point that Nancy Pelosi and many others have come out and just said, we have to impeach Trump to protect the election, the 2020 election. It's like you are literally coming out and stating, we aren't honoring the election results of 2016.
Right.
And we are impeaching this president because we got the power of the House.
Right.
And we want to... What they accuse you of is what they are always guilty of. They are still, even to this day, accusing Russia of meddling with our elections.
All right.
The entire impeachment process is only and solely meant to meddle with the 2020 election.
Exactly.
And that's why they're doing it. And honestly, the only reason that Trump is alive and Trump will still be alive is because the hand of God is on him and protecting him.
Exactly.
They would kill him like they killed MLK, like they killed Kennedy, like they killed Bobby. The reason why they had this trial, and this is again in our Treasonous Cabal interview with author Barry Jones, they had that trial because all of America was going, hang on a second.
Why is everybody dying?
Everybody getting killed?
These people are being assassinated. They're literally being murdered. Why are they being murdered?
And you know who pushed that trial forward was Coretta Scott King. She spearheaded that. So it wasn't just for her husband. She was fighting the deep state as well.
The Congress literally had to have a committee on suicides and deaths and mysterious deaths.
Right.
Because mysterious deaths. I think it was a mysterious deaths. What many people often forget is one day after his peace speech at American University, Kennedy delivered a major televised address to the nation defending the civil rights movement and the movement the King was leading. What better proof of a threat to national security than reaching out to the communist world in peace and friendship, and then one day later defending a movement that the U.S. national security establishment was convinced was the spearhead for a communist takeover of the United States. The loss of both Kennedy and King constituted conclusive confirmation that the worst mistake in U.S. history was to abandon a limited government republic type of governmental system in favor of a totalitarian governmental structure known as a national security state.
Oh my gosh.
A free nation does not fight communism with communist tactics and an omnipotent government.
But that's what they were trying to sell it as.
A free nation fights communism with freedom and limited government. There's no doubt what both JFK and Martin Luther King Jr. would have thought about the type of totalitarian-like government structure that has led our nation in the direction of state-sponsored assassinations, torture, invasions, occupations, wars of aggression, coups, alliances with dictator regimes, sanctions, embargoes, regime change operations, massive death, suffering, destruction, not to mention the loss of liberty and privacy here at home. And this is Donald Trump going in there trying to dismantle this giant structure. There's hundreds of thousands of people all across the United States that are in this, and everybody likes to say, oh, the FBI is great, and the CIA, we need them this, and we need them that. Well, actually, let's try it without them for a little bit.
I like that idea.
Let's see if the world and the United States can survive. Let's see if our local police can do their job. Right? Let's see what can happen without the FBI, because I think more people have died as a result of the FBI than have been saved as the result of the FBI.
Yes.
So there's my two cents there.
You want to close that out if you're not going to use it again, or just leave it?
So let me see. I'm gonna go. I'm not sure which way I want to go to from there. The coronavirus.
No. Let's stick really quickly on topic with the stark difference, because I put this in the thumbnail, between the Women's March on Saturday, which was the 18th, and the
Actually, I do know.
The March for Life.
From this. I know exactly where to go for this.
Okay, but do my thing first.
MLK.
It was MLK Day on Monday, which was also the
Virginia rally.
Was on MLK. I think they do it almost every year on that same day.
Yeah.
But we see these bitter, angry, hostile women at the Women's March. They aren't really fighting for women's rights. They just hate Trump.
Yeah.
The very first, I think, Women's March was in 2017. That's when it was.
With the pussy hat.
With the, we don't like that word. We call them pee-pee hats. But the idea, and we talked about this last night, the idea of wearing genital on your head as an empowerment, just goes to show the insanity of the movement. And when you listen to these women, they're all bitter. They're all, they hate the world. I believe that a lot of women that want to be pro-woman, that want to be a feminist, really just want to be pro-woman and be a feminist. The problem is that this movement isn't based with those women. Mm-hmm. It's based in the bitter women who men have treated them badly, and I'm sorry for you in life. They are often hard to look at, hard to listen to.
Yeah.
Women, and I don't want to go all Milo Yiannopoulos. He makes fun of how they look, but it shows on the outside what they are feeling on the inside.
Well, I think I do. I can bring up a couple videos of that so you can kind of see what Michelle's talking about. But let me bring up the videos. I never got to show you my videos from the gun rally, and it was on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and it was supposed to be a white nationalist rally. What's hilarious is you had black people there.
The mass media said that it was supposed to be
a
white nationalist rally.
Yeah.
The intent behind it was certainly not that it was supposed to be.
Right.
Ben Collins from NBC yesterday tweeted that the white supremacist rally tomorrow, he was telling his fellow journalists, make sure that at the white supremacist rally that you report the facts and that you get the facts before you report it. The fact that he tweeted that, what an idiot. He finally deleted it because he got a lot of pushback. But yeah, that is the narrative they want to paint. They want to paint Trump supporters as neo-Nazis and white supremacists, and they want another Charlottesville is what they want.
And they didn't get it. They didn't get the Charlottesville that they wanted. Antifa called it off. They didn't show up. The reason why it wasn't another Charlottesville is because Antifa wasn't there.
This is from the Babylon Bee. Media offers thoughts and prayers that someone would start some violence at the gun rights rally.
This is satire.
Somber members of the press offered their thoughts and prayers that someone would start some violence at the gun rally in Virginia today. Reporters expressed their grief and condolences as the violence they had hyped has so far failed to materialize. Nobody has so much fired a shot. This is an unbelievable tragedy, said one teary-eyed MSNBC reporter, clearly caught up in the anguish of the moment. It's tragic that we live in a country of reporters who are just minding their own business, trying to push a narrative that can have everything ripped away from them in an instant when protesters refuse to shoot at people. A CBS News reporter called for a moment of silence live on air. Let's just take a moment and cry out to a non-specific deity for our choice. Of our choice that any second now a miraculous shooting will occur. When it did not occur, she began weeping and gnashing her teeth before ripping her suit jacket in despair. Why, God, why? One CNN reporter has offered up to $1,000 for anyone who will start some violence to help out the narrative.
It's unbelievable.
And you know it's true.
So disappointed.
That's not even like a joke.
And I think that behind closed doors, I think a lot of people were scrambling and angry. Like, how did this not happen? Where were our people? They all know who's behind the violence.
Yeah.
So they are kind of upset, I think, that Antifa called it off.
Sheriff Richard Vaughn of Grayson County, Virginia. If the bills go through as proposed, they will not be enforced. They are unconstitutional.
Or city or Commonwealth still be. If the bills go through as proposed, they will not be enforced. They're unconstitutional. We support uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Virginia. And that's what we'll do. Outstanding. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you believe that? Having law enforcement that say, I'm going to uphold the Constitution, even if lawmakers who are totally out of line tell me that I have to do otherwise.
Antonia Okafor, who is a NRA spokeswoman, hands down the worst white supremacist rally I've ever seen. I mean, they let me speak and everything. People shaking my hands and stuff. What would MLK do if he saw all these people judging me by the content of my character instead of the color of my skin?
So much for having me here, for having all of us here. This is a historic moment. And if anything, of course, it makes sense that it's on MLK Day. Why? Because although the left wants us to believe in everybody, so much for having me.
So you could probably listen to her whole speech that she just put out.
And MLK was totally pro-life.
And I believe he was pro-Second Amendment.
He was because he understood that
there was a disarming
of the African American people was their demise and downfall.
Exactly.
So what's your name?
My name is Mark from Northern Virginia.
Okay, where in Northern Virginia? You just...
Northern Virginia.
Okay, all right. How far did you have to travel today?
2 hours.
And so why did you think it was important to drive those 2.5 hours?
One, I love this country. It's about the Second Amendment. It's about our ability to defend ourselves and our loved ones. It's not only a constitutional right issue, but it's also a civil right issue. The governor, who's known for blackface and or possibly having a Klan's hood on, has the audacity on MLK Day to declare executive order that would prevent people from lawfully protesting. This has been a long-standing rally where people have come and they have protested, and then on top of that, to add insult to injury, he wanted to push forth the narrative that white supremacists are stirring up issues. I feel comfortable here, haven't had any issues here. I don't know what the problem is. So it for me, as an African American on MLK Day, is critically important that we preserve the ability to defend ourselves and our loved ones. And I will not allow anybody to push a narrative saying that there are racist people at these rallies. It's not true.
Okay. Now your sign says, "We will not comply."
Absolutely. Just as the sheriff in some of the counties have said, we're not going to enforce laws that are unconstitutional. We will not comply. We will do whatever means necessary legislatively, vote people out of office, make sure it goes through the court process, but we're not going to just lay down and allow people to strip us of our ability to defend ourselves and our loved ones. So that's what "we will not comply" means for me.
And that particular video has had 1.3 million views.
So, rebellion to a rebellious law is obedience to God. And a lot of people have done a comparison of, if you were in Hitler's Nazi Germany, it was illegal to help the Jews. It was illegal to hide them. It was illegal to protect them, try to get them out of the country. And yet it was the right thing to do. It was morally acceptable. Everybody understood that. When it came to the Underground Railroad, totally illegal at the time. And
aerial footage, by the way.
Yeah. And yet, doing so was righteous and right before God.
Yeah.
So there are times in this world, and I could get taken off of YouTube for this, where it is the right thing to do to stand up for our Constitution when lawmakers are making it illegal to do so.
Law is obedience to God.
They cannot make it illegal for you to obey the Constitution.
Yep.
No state has the power to do that.
Yep.
And they're trying to uphold their state's constitution. So a state would have to ratify their constitution in order to enforce this law. Right. And they haven't done that.
Right. Basically, I'm out here because I got roped into it by the group of guys you see standing to my right. But the real reason I'm out here is I do not support in any way, shape, or form Governor Northam's and the Democrats' gun control. What I also don't support is the fact that every news piece you've seen on this weekend, they've always brought up the issue of race, as though it's nothing but white rednecks and hillbillies out here who care for the Second Amendment. When actually, Black Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, Americans in general care about the Second Amendment. I work at a gun store part-time, and I can't tell you the number of customers I see of all races, all colors, all creeds, who care about the Second Amendment and who just want to peaceably live their lives, enjoy their rights, and the Second Amendment. So that's why I'm out here. And big media, mainstream media be damned. If you take a good look at me, you can see I'm a Black American, and all I'm out here for is to enjoy my Second Amendment rights. That's why I'm here.
Great. And tell us about what do you think about the cordoning off that's going on out here of the Capitol area?
You know what? It's great. What we ought to do is everybody just walk up with master locks, put master locks on the gates, and lock that bastard in. That's what. No, to be quite honest, shut up. What I honestly think about it is, it's wrong. This is our capital. We pay for these grounds. This is not some place for the king to hold up in. This is our capital. This is our state. We have the right to petition for redress of our government, of our grievances. And our grievance today is their treatment of us and the Second Amendment. So the fact that he's got to hide behind fences like he's the king in Braveheart, I think is complete and utter garbage.
That is so great.
Oh my
That is
gosh,
so
like
great.
he's the king in Braveheart.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And once again, it bears repeating that, and we said this yesterday, that these people stayed after and
Cleaned
up after themselves.
Yes.
And how many times with these rallies?
The climate people never clean up.
Oh my gosh, the Millie has done so many segments on that. Just look at all this trash.
Climate people never clean up. Here's a woman, she's a nurse, saying, you know, women's rights are
I'm actually
and of course it's going to be, let me just try this again.
travel nurse, and I travel across the country. I'm a Virginia resident, and I have to be disarmed when I drive through states like Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, and I don't want Virginia to become one of those states where women have to be disarmed when they're driving by themselves. They have every right to protect themselves, and the bills that are proposed today would make a lot of my firearms illegal and make me a felon. And I'm also a competitive shooter, so it's a very much a part of my life and what I do.
All these white supremacists.
You know, and again, it all ties together, whether it's the Women's March, the March for Life, or the Second Amendment rally. You could make this central theme for all of this women, and you would win your argument every single time, because the idea that you would take away a woman's ability to defend herself, or you would take an African American woman's ability to defend herself away from her, you know, it doesn't make any sense. So the fact that you would kill a woman in the womb, you're so anti-woman. These people, they're all anti-women on the other side.
They want to liken this to Charlottesville, and they want to anticipate crime and violence, but these are peaceful people who come around with their weapons, and they're showing up here to send one message, and that is a message of unity. You know, this government thinks this is just white people, just a few black people. There are people here who are united from the hills, from the mountains, from the valleys, and the message is one message, and that is that we want the Second Amendment to remain intact. You have a lot of people who are carrying guns. It's not a shot that's been fired. These are civil people. These are citizens of Virginia. These are citizens of the United States, and we want that message to go out that the governor simply cannot blanket or cannot put in one blanket what he feels happened in Charlottesville somehow is going to transcend to Virginia.
That's awesome. You know, and it bears repeating, you can't say it enough. The Second Amendment is not just to ensure your right to protect yourself and your family, your right to hunt, your right to sportsmanship. That's all great. But really, a lot of these, even state constitutions, not just to mention the United States Constitution, talk about it being the duty of every American to be armed, to be able to protect themselves, their family, and their country from a government, a tyrannical government who would rise up and try to strip away your powers. Okay? Every oppressed people throughout history that have been slaughtered, whether you're talking about Chairman Mao, or whether you're talking about the Jews in Nazi Germany, they all were stripped of their right to defend themselves first. Yeah. Okay? If you were a black person, you were not allowed to own a firearm.
Right.
Because then you might rise up and stop the tyranny over you.
Yeah.
So the idea behind the left saying, oh, please take all of our guns. We don't want the right to defend ourselves. And out of the same breath say, we hate the government. We hate Donald Trump. We don't trust you. We don't trust the government. And yet you're asking that very government that you don't trust to take away your ability to defend yourself from them should they become a dictatorship, should they become tyrannical over you. It doesn't make any sense. Do you really want to see yourself as Hong Kong? They have every reason, every right before God, before man, before every human in this world to be standing up against the Chinese government that is not just oppressing them, but far worse. And they are struggling to do it because they don't have a means to defend themselves. Do you really want to become Hong Kong?
No.
I carry it with me every day. I don't feel safe without a firearm with me. I think one of the more common things you'll find in any of these abduction cases, the women didn't have a firearm with them. You know, it could be a totally different story if you were just a responsible gun owner and knew how to use your firearm and did carry.
What would you say to a lot of people who believe that gun control laws would actually save lives?
Have they? Have gun control laws saved lives? No. Criminals, by definition, break the law. We already have gun laws in place. All you're doing is restricting law-abiding citizens from defending their lives, from defending the people that are around them.
We don't want to end up being disarmed and be able to have other people, the criminals, be armed instead of us.
The criminals could be the government.
Take our guns away. The bad guys are still going to have the guns. They're going to find a way to get guns. They have, and they will continue to, and it's not going to do any good.
We on a gun range?
I would say at least like 30-40% of our customers are women. A lot of women lately have been getting their concealed carry permits, getting pistols, just taking their self-protection to their own hands.
Gun rights are absolutely women's rights. I am 5'0", 100 pounds. I've been campaigning. I might be a little less than that now. I don't have time to eat. But I cannot physically defend myself against an attacker. And my firearm is a great neutralizer. I hope to God that I never have to use it, and I believe that I won't. But I also thank God that I have it and I have that right in case it's ever needed.
So there we have it. Guns rights are women's rights. So on the other side of the spectrum, we have AOC.
Oh dear.
Who says that this is a really crazy clip that I have here. I'm just going to play it and then we'll just talk about it for a second.
Okay.
To be a good person, you turn Amazon to a worker cooperative.
Right. Right.
You know, like, not what do I do with all of this money that I have created with this unjust system?
Right.
And usually if you're a billionaire, that means that you control a massive system. It means that you own oil supplies. It means that you control textiles. It means that you have a massive labor force under your control. And to be ethical, if you're a billionaire today, the thing that you need to do is give up control and power. So I don't want your money as much as we want your power. The people, not me. That's going to get cut and clipped.
Yeah. You know what? Even if she had said the people, it doesn't make it, I literally, the communist manifesto and the communist slogan is workers of the world unite. I am tired of people on the right and the left and even the president of the United States calling Americans workers. We're doing things for workers. You are not a worker. You are a human being. You are a gift from God. You have the life of God inside of you. You were not put on this earth to be a worker. Wow. Okay, so in the past 100 years, we have this thing called this Industrial Revolution. And everybody from the right and the left, from Ted Cruz to Chuck Schumer, is going to say, yay for the Industrial Revolution, yay for antibiotics, yay for washing machines. But what you've done is you've downgraded a good swath of the population from landowner.
Preach.
From, you used to be able to say, what is your occupation, as in what do you do? What is your entrepreneurship? What you used to be able to train somebody and apprentice somebody to create their own business. You have John Adams' dad, who was a farmer, but he was also a shoemaker. He was not a worker. He was his own boss. He was his own man. He was his own El Chapo. Okay, he was his own guy. Okay, the buck stops with him. If he makes 10 shoes that day, he gets to choose whether he makes 10 shoes today. He doesn't lose health insurance. He doesn't have, he doesn't have some guy over top of him smoking a cigar saying, "Hey, I want you to increase production. Oh, we're gonna cut costs on the glue for shoes this year. You're gonna have to make as much many bricks without straw as you did with straw. Okay, that's a worker. A worker is a slave. And what she is like to, what Bernie Sanders, he kind of tiptoes around that. He's actually got flack because he compared in the past, they're bringing up things where he compared workers he compared workers to indentured servitude. And he compared workers to slavery.
It's very true.
Okay,
it's
slavery.
Very, very true.
Oh my gosh, how racist is that? Slavery was awful, and now people have choices. No, you don't have a choice. You're a worker. And what she wants to do is, did you hear what she said? She said, if you are a billionaire today, you have power, you have oil, you have textiles, you have this, and we want your power. She literally is calling for state run everything. And here's the thing, guys, you're only always going to have a few people at the top. She literally read Animal Farm and decided that the pigs were the good guys. It said, I want to be the pig.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what communists read the Animal Farm, and they say, hey, yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to take out the farmers, and then the pigs will be even worse than the farmers were. Because guess what? Under Animal Farm, the animals were fine. It wasn't until the pigs got the power and they killed all the farmers and put everybody else under bondage. Okay, that's her idea. The powers, what she just said, that was so satanic. You might as well have been playing Led Zeppelin backwards and then forwards and then backwards again.
Okay, so, but what happened, was it just was it yesterday or was it earlier last week?
That was a good joke.
No, that was a really good joke. When we talked about this, when I said live on air, and I've said it before, but I just said it recently, and that is the fact that there are three things that people want.
Yes,
that they
you did say
seek,
this.
okay? There is money, there is fame, and there is power in that order, okay? Getting money is actually the easiest of the three to do. Okay, it's not that hard to make a lot of money. All you have to do is walk all over a lot of people. Yeah. Okay, to get fame is a little bit harder because you have to either know somebody or you have to have something that's sellable. Okay, the most almost unattainable thing to get in this world today is power. Sure. And so when AOC says we don't want your money, I remember being on a dog walk with Leah when this epiphany hit me. I said, Leah, they don't want money. They don't even want fame. They just want the power. Right. Getting money was easy for them. Getting fame was even easy for them. But getting that power is the hardest thing. And that's what makes it so satanic. Why? Because power only comes from God.
Yeah.
And so if they're trying to get it, they're trying to take it wrongfully. They are trying to steal it. They are trying to zap something. They just want control. And Almighty God is the only one that has control.
So we're having a conversation with a friend of ours talking about the gospel of Jesus Christ, talking about, how Christians have been like sitting on the back of their, and some of you guys are like this, but you watch the show, so you are two minds. Okay, so I'm going to speak to the one part of your mind. When you talk about the end times and you say things are getting bad, things are getting worse, and everything's just going to continue to get bad and worse. So we must be in the end days. However, what is actually true when you read the gospel of Jesus Christ, when you read Isaiah 61, Jesus said that he came to set the captives free, to open the eyes of the blind, to set at liberty those who are captive, okay? So that's the gospel. So you can't actually be a Christian and preach in days and in times if you're wanting to spread the gospel. Because the gospel, it says that Jesus would be born and the government would be upon his shoulders. Now, what did that mean? It didn't mean a theocracy. It meant that Jesus's justice would go forth. It's a supernatural government. Right. It's a supernatural power because there are principalities and powers that rule and make things happen. Like if you're in communist China, there is a satanic stronghold of principalities and powers there that make it so good people can't get things done. You need the power of God to destroy these governments. And throughout history, when Christians grasp this, that you have the power to overthrow in the spirit realm the spiritual leaders, and then it's the spiritual leaders that are puppeting the people. You're not wrestling with flesh and blood. You think you're going after Obama. You think you're going after Hillary Clinton. And that is why we don't win. But when we look and we see George Soros as the satanic puppet that he is, and we see Hillary Clinton, yes, you have to call them out for what they're doing that is wrong. But in order to stop them, You need the power of God, and you need wisdom. You can use the systems that they are all set up, because God created government for good. The Bible says that God created government for the punishment of evil people and for the reward of those who are doing the right thing.
And so if your government is not operating in that, then it's not operating the way that God wants it to. And as a Christian, we have a power in the spirit realm. We don't even have to do it physically at all to switch it.
So when I was telling my friend, like, the problem is that evangelicals bought into the very system that the devil set up. So when they started to go along with the industrial revolution, listen, we have cars now, and I realize we have roads, and I realize we have all these things that were set up. But you need to, in the back of your brain, recognize that Gerald
came with
Ford,
a cost.
or that Henry Ford was not, as Joe Salatin would say, he did not think about the essence of the human, the pigness of the pig, when he created an assembly line. Okay? So if Henry Ford were sitting there making his own cars, that's different. But when you begin the assembly line and you think it's okay to hire people and make workers who are not fulfilled every day, you're not waking up every day saying, I'm doing this is a good thing, and I'm being led by God. I'm not the blacksmith or the carpenter or the shoemaker or the candlestick maker or the bread maker. Somebody who has the essence of God. I'm doing a good thing for society, right? And I'm my own boss. You should be your own boss. When you're not your own boss, you need to be set free by Jesus Christ. Okay?
So to hit on that, and I don't want to interrupt you, but what you're saying here, and on our show, it gets a little bit confusing whether you listen to Patriot Gallery or whatever. You guys just you talk about horses and buggies, and you talk about farming, and you talk about all this stuff, and it seems so unrealistic, and you're trying to say, and Patriot Gallery all the time says technology is evil, and yet we're using it. What you're saying is, I always think about the printing press being technology, but the printing press was something that could be done by one person, okay, by creating something. But when you turn it into an assembly line, and what you've done or what you want to accomplish requires for you to have slaves or indentured servants, aka workers, that's when you've crossed the line.
Right.
That's when it becomes evil. And that's what we have right now. And so it's not in the, I'm just going to boycott technology, or I might as well start walking everywhere. The Amish do that. That's fine if you feel convicted to do that. Okay. But knowing it in the back of your head is half the battle.
Because you have to fight it.
You have to fight it in the spirit realm.
And you don't have to fight the technology. You have to fight the powers that are behind it.
People.
Rockefeller set up a thing, or led by Satan, said, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. So if you had a nation of thinkers, they would think themselves out of being a worker.
So what our friend proposed was the scripture, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and seek my face, then I will turn again and heal their land. And he pointed out that so many times we think that it's going to take all of America to turn and repent. No, just if my people who are called by my name, that's Christians. If we as Christian Americans, or whether you're in your country, wherever you are, will humble yourself, turn from your wicked ways, and seek God's face, then he will come and he will turn and he will heal our land. And that's what we are actually seeing right now. We are seeing people do this worldwide, and it is a move of God. And guys, I got to tell you, when you're talking about the end times, we've been in the last days for 2,000 years. Jesus will come at some point, but I'm here to tell you here on Resistance Chicks, you aren't real true Resistance Chicks followers if you buy into the lie that it's going to get real bad soon, because I'm here to tell you that God is moving and it's going to get real good. And we're going to just keep winning for a really long time. And I'm so excited.
I made a tweet that said, I know that if Soros hates Trump, then I'm on the right team.
Patriot Gallery comment says, when you call a person a human resource or list them on your account sheets as assets, companies, even the United States government, list humans as assets. Men sell and get credit because of this. It's slavery.
Exactly.
Well said, Patriot Gallery.
Soros spits venom at con man narcissist Trump. So if you didn't know this, Trump went to Davos and he kind of hit him upside the head. Billionaire globalist George Soros could hardly contain his vitriol towards President Trump Thursday at the Economic Forum in Davos, hissing that the fate of the world will be decided by the 2020 election. Speaking at a private dinner, Soros called Trump a con man and a narcissist, speaking from the guy who took over the world, and accused the president of needing the world to revolve around him, speaking about the guy who needs the whole world. Literally, here's a guy who has his hand in the cookie pot of the cookie bowl.
The cookie jar.
The cookie whatever of every single country in the entire world, and he thinks that Trump needs the world to revolve around him.
Right. So you know what? Power. George Soros sought power. He needed money and he needed some fame to get there, but his ultimate goal was power.
Thank you all for listening to me. We live a transformational moment in history. The survival of open societies.
Open societies.
And we face another even greater crisis. Climate change is threatening to the survival of our civilization.
Oh, you mean the weather malfunctions that you caused?
Two challenges have inspired me to announce the most important project of my life here tonight. As I argue in my book,
you don't need to hear him. Well, he obviously doesn't. He'd obviously like nothing more than to see Trump removed from office. Soros expressed doubts the Democrats' impeachment show trial will amount to anything, admitting that Trump has their number. He has an instinct of how they are going to respond to his actions. It's Jesus. This makes the task of the Democrats who impeached him extremely difficult. Having previously accused Trump of making concessions to China, Soros suggested that President Xi Jinping is trying to exploit Trump's weaknesses where the international trade deal is concerned. The leftist kingpin also noted that Xi is using artificial intelligence to have total control of his people, referring to China's developing and much maligned social credit system. The elitist comments come in the wake of President Trump's nationalistic address at Davos, where he asserted that a nation's highest duty is to its own citizens. I don't know how long this is, but he also warned about the prophets of doom who wish to direct the world for their own agendas. These alarmists always demand the same thing, absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives, the president said, adding that we are committed to conserving the majesty of God's creation and the natural beauty around the world. That's his whole address, so I don't want to play that because it's 30 minutes long. Let's see. So I guess what I probably want to do is talk a little bit about an update on the coronavirus.
Oh, yes. It's just since yesterday. We literally just covered this last night, 24 hours ago.
Yeah. So update. Coronavirus pandemic simulation run 3 months ago. Predicts 65 million could die. Now, I feel like that's like a little bit extreme, but who ran it?
Now, our friend Stacy said something. She said that the coronavirus has been a thing. It was just always in animals.
Well, here's the thing. No. Let me explain it. The coronavirus is a species of viruses, a kind of virus. They're naming the specific one that come from. A coronavirus is actually, there's several. There can be all kinds, and they come from. They're viruses that come from animals, and they name it different things. And so this particular one has been named CO19 or COV19 or something like that. COR19, V19. As of this morning, the deadly coronavirus that originated in China has killed 26 people. I'm going to actually get to that. There's even more. But according to one simulation run less than 3 months ago, things could get much, much worse. I don't want to scare you, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Less than 3 months ago, Eric Toner, a scientist at the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, had run a simulation of a global pandemic involving the exact same type of virus. We're talking about this type of virus, this zoological virus. A friend of ours sent us a link, just throwing this out there, that I think is 20 miles away, 20 or 40 miles away from 20 miles away from this province
in Wuhan.
There is, go ahead, tell them.
a research lab. They're already researching
for deadly viruses.
I mean, like, what are the
odds?
And
they were using animals. They were
exactly.
testing these on
exactly.
animals.
So
his theory is that somebody decided, let's
see what happens if we release this.
Or they sold them in the market.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's just put it on the. We see these movies where something like this gets sold on the black market, and they always say, what would happen if this gets into the wrong hands? Well, what are the right hands of a deadly virus, by the way? But it's possible that we are seeing that. It's also possible, and I would say almost more probable, that somebody that worked there contracted it.
So his simulation predicted 65 million people could die within 18 months. I'm going to say that that's way overblown, but he commented, I have thought for a long time that the most likely virus that might cause a new pandemic would be a coronavirus. There's a type of virus. Right. As of now, the outbreak is not a pandemic, but has been reported in 8 different countries. Toner's simulation said that nearly every country in the world would have the virus after 6 months. We don't know how yet contagious it is. We know that it is being spread person to person.
No, we do know it's very, very contagious.
But we don't know to what extent. An initial first impression is that it is significantly milder than SARS. So that's reassuring. On the other hand, it may be more transmissible than SARS, at least in the community setting. His analysis used a fictional virus called CAPS, which would be resistant to any modern vaccine and would be deadlier than SARS. And obviously this isn't deadlier because, one of my friends said, it's only a 6% death rate. The simulation involved a virus originating in Brazil's pig farms. The simulation also showed flights being canceled and travel bookings falling by 45% as people disseminated false information on social media, and then a global financial crisis. That is something also to be looking at. He concluded that if we could make it so that we could have a vaccine within months rather than years or decades, that would be a game changer. But remember when they came out with, and we decided not to get tested for the bird flu, right?
It was the H1N1.
Yeah, bird flu.
No, it was swine flu.
Swine flu. Swine flu. Mm-hmm. And there was a vaccine for that. People were thinking about.
We literally walked out.
Yeah,
we left. We used to do research studies, and it started out with like shampoo and toothpaste and stuff like that, and then we dabbled into a couple of medical research studies until we got involved with one that was very high paying, but really messed up our systems. And prior to that one, we were at an H1N1 vaccine trial. And it's very all the up and up. I mean, it's cutting edge lab. I mean, you walk in there, it's really, really nice. I mean, high dollar, type deal. And you and I, we really prayed about it, and we were like, we don't feel right about getting this vaccine. Now, this was actually prior to us being red-pilled about vaccines.
Yeah.
I think that we wouldn't have done any medical tests. We wouldn't have even done the... but God protected us. We wouldn't have even done the shampoo or the toothpaste trials as well.
Yeah. If you've been reading the news about the deadly coronavirus that is sweeping China, you've likely heard about the SARS outbreak. So there's a virologist, Guan Yi of the University of Hong Kong's State Key Laboratory of Emerging Infectious Diseases, visited Wuhan. And he says he didn't see nearly enough being done to fight the new epidemic. Now everybody's wearing the mask, but he said that due to the new year, people were out in the markets without masks, without any sense of
Tomorrow's
epidemic.
The Chinese New Year.
He also pointed out that the airports are not being disinfected, and he says a bigger outbreak is certain. He estimated conservatively that this outbreak could be 10 times bigger than SARS epidemic because the virus was transmitted by only a few super spreaders in a more defined part of the country. We have passed through the golden period of prevention and control. What's more, we've got the holiday traffic. I've seen it all. Bird flu, SARS, influenza A, swine fever, and the rest. But the Wuhan pneumonia, that's what they're calling it, makes me feel extremely powerless. Most of the past epidemics were controllable, but this time I am petrified. As of Friday morning, 40 million people have now been quarantined and 900 have been infected with the virus. And actually, I'm going to go to another update here.
Once in the YouTube chat, as well as then again in the Periscope chat, 2 different people are saying that close to 100,000 are actually infected in the Wuhan city alone. Refocus Zone says that the new Thailand military report says that many people have been infected. I can't corroborate that.
As of 5 o'clock today, from updated from Zero Hedge, China suddenly increases death toll by over 60% as virus jumps to Europe. Here's a glimpse of the new virus-related developments that we can know for sure. and these might be changing as well. China announces another 15 deaths in the Hubei province. A total number of confirmed cases now 1,000 plus, with 41 dead. China restricts travel to 46 million people across 16 cities as the death toll surges. AFP reports that the virus has jumped to Europe, with 3 confirmed cases now in France. 2 deaths have been reported outside of Wuhan. Some residents displaying symptoms are being turned away from hospitals. Hospitals in Wuhan make urgent pleas for help and supplies. Beijing orders the PLA medics to assist in Wuhan treating patients. UK and US governments all tell citizens to avoid outbreak zones. Duh. 63 suspected cases in U.S. Senator says 3 confirmed. 2 reported so far in Illinois and California, and 2 suspected in Minnesota. All day we've been watching disturbing videos of hospital hallways littered with what appear to be dead bodies. Yet the death toll from the Wuhan coronavirus hasn't budged from 26, and now it's up. Now we know why. I suspected the virus has been claiming more victims, but the local authorities, who promised transparency in everything virus-related, apparently felt the need to wait until 4 a.m. local time to drop this massive bomb. Another 15 people have died in Hubei as hospitals struggle with severe shortages of everything, including doctors and nurses. That brings the total number of casualties to 41. In addition, another 180 cases have been discovered in Hubei, bringing to 1,000. So now we have France, and these are the epidemic predictions into Thailand, Japan, South Korea, the USA, Taiwan, and to the UK.
That's not very large. I think that's 20
into
20 people.
Yeah, you're right. It's not. The WHO is still waiting on making a call, claiming it hasn't yet seen enough evidence of human-to-human transmission, despite the fact that this is no longer in doubt. Yesterday, the organization estimated that Wuhan coronavirus had an R rate, we talk about this, of 2, making it more contagious than the flu. And we know the flu is aerial.
It's literally they are trying to disinfect the air because it is just transmitting through the air, from people breathing.
Right.
You know, usually like when you have a cold or something like that, you can kind of be around that person. But if the moisture content from their breath is so high that gets on you or you breathe it in, but it has to come from like a moisture, right?
So Donald Trump tweeted out, China has been working very hard to contain the coronavirus. The United States greatly appreciates their efforts and transparency. It will all work out well. See, you know, you gotta have the positivity in chief.
I love it.
In particular,
the positivity in chief.
On behalf of the American people, I want to thank President Xi. He might as well tweeted "Don't panic" in big red friendly letters.
Well, because panic, I think, makes it worse when you're not thinking clearly, and when you are panicked, you might spread the virus because you're trying to get away, and you might try and hide and not get checked.
One reporter at the Washington Post reportedly overheard a doctor in Wuhan screaming into the phone at their supervisor, allegedly begging to be fired. "I don't want to do this job anymore. Just fire me, kick me out, send me back home." A doctor at Wuhan number 5 hospital yelled into the phone, frustration and exhaustion exploding out of him. "Don't I want to go home to celebrate the new year?" he screamed in his Wuhan accent, presumably at his boss, that he'd done 4 back-to-back shifts as China made plans for the Lunar New Year holiday. Don't we want to live too? And Governor...
You can't work people to death, but they do that in China.
Former Governor of Florida, now U.S. Senator Rick Scott, is pushing President Trump to declare a national public health emergency over the virus. But, of course, Trump won't do that, at least until the market is closed. So we have China quarantined 16 cities. That's almost 40 million people, the population of California. So I wanted to keep you guys up to date.
Don't be afraid here in the United States, guys. Panic. Do not. This is not something to get afraid over. We talked about last night, you know, it's not, and here's the thing. God doesn't, I don't think God is bringing this on these people. What happens is, in this world, we have sin and sickness. And when you have an absence of God, the devil comes in, and a lot of people want to blame God for bad things. It's not God that's doing it. It's literally the devil that's doing it, and it's the absence of God or sin or whatever that, you know, God has, when God created the earth and he created free will, which is very, very important. It's so important because there's a choice to love God. When he created free will, in order for God to just go, why doesn't God just go in and just wipe out this virus? Why doesn't God just go in and make it all okay, like, and just protect these people? Because he literally created it requires like I said, humble yourself. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, seek my face, turn and repent. in order for God's healing to come in a situation,
killer coronavirus could be spread through eyes.
You have to have repentance, humbleness. You know, if you've got somebody in your life where their sin is on you, it can cause you to die. That's why we're really protective of who we have in our lives. And in China, they're almost completely devoid of God altogether, where sin can run rampant.
Yeah.
It's sad, but God will protect his people within China. So be praying for God's people in China. Be praying for the gospel to spread in China, for people to turn and repent so that they can stop the devil's destruction that is happening. This is an attack from the devil with an absence of God.
The Chinese city of Wuhan is set to build a hospital in 6 days in order to treat patients suspected of contracting the coronavirus. There are currently 830, over 1,000. I don't understand how a hospital... China has a record of getting things done fast, even for monumental projects like this. He points out that the hospital in Beijing in 2003 was built in 7 days, so the construction team is probably attempting to beat the record. Just like the hospital in Beijing, the Wuhan Center will be made of prefabricated buildings. This authoritarian country relies on this top-down mobilization approach. They can overcome bureaucratic nature and financial constraints and are able to mobilize all the resources. Mr. Hong said the engineers would be brought in from across the country in order to complete the construction in time. The engineering work in what China is good at. They have records of building skyscrapers at speed. I don't trust them. This is very hard for Westerners to imagine. It can be done. So they're going to build a hospital in 6 days.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff going on over there. All right, so I guess we got to go over here.
Got to talk about the elephant in the room.
So Adam Schiff closing argument. Today's the end of the Democrat House managers with their arguments. Trump was upset because they literally made it so that his lawyers would be on Saturday morning from 9 till like noon. And he's like, who's going to watch on Saturday morning?
A lot of people will watch.
But like...
Oh, I know. I get it.
On the weekend?
I know. It's unbelievable.
Seriously?
They should do a break and come back on Monday.
Exactly. But they don't want to do that. So Adam Schiff's closing argument is Russia carried out a coup in the United States.
When they were subsequently asked by U.S. law enforcement about their activities, President Trump's advisors repeatedly lied. In Helsinki in July of 2018, however, President Trump refused to acknowledge the Russian threat to our elections. When a reporter explicitly asked whether he believed Putin or the U.S. intelligence agencies on the issue of foreign interference in the 2016 election, President Trump said, quote, "I don't see any reason why it would be Russia," and talked about the DNC server.
So let me just say that we have two thoughts. You have groups that are wondering why the FBI never took the server. Why haven't they taken the server? Why was the FBI told to leave the office of the Democratic National Committee? I've been wondering that. I've been asking that for months and months, and I've been tweeting it out and calling it out on social media. Where is the server? I want to know, where is the server, and what is the server saying? With that being said, all I can do is ask the question. My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin.
Okay, so he says...
just gone.
I'm sure you remember this. It was, I think, unforgettable for every American.
I can't watch this guy.
But I'm sure it was equally unforgettable for Vladimir Putin. I mean, there he is, the president of Russia, standing...
You know what? I don't want to hear you. I'm just going to tell you what he has to say. Lead House impeachment manager Representative Adam Schiff claimed on the Senate floor Friday afternoon that Russia had carried out a propaganda coup by manipulating President Trump. Schiff delivering the closing address on the third day of the House Democrats' opening argument on the first article of impeachment, claiming that Russia had done a psychological profile of Trump and manipulated him into believing Russian intelligence. Drawing selectively from the president's past statements, Schiff claimed that Trump believed Russia's claims that Ukraine had interfered with the 2016 presidential election, ignoring U.S. intelligence agencies' assessments. We know that we trust intelligence agencies, don't we? In fact, Trump has acknowledged that for years Russia meddled in the last presidential election, explicitly saying that he accepted the conclusion that U.S. intelligence agencies, blah, 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 blah. And in fact, Trump provided this more lethal aid to the Ukraine. This is absolutely insane. So stupid. It makes my head hurt. And it also makes the Republicans. Look at this. This is from the Babylon Bee. Republican senators don trusty googly eyeglasses in order to get some sleep during impeachment trial. This is absolutely hilarious to me. Look, I'm tired. I'm sitting on that.
That's why I got off my chair.
Faced with the prospect of another drawn-out day of listening to fellow congresspeople drone on and on about impeachment, Republican senators don their trusty googly eyeglasses in order to get a little shut-eye. Senator Mitch McConnell distributed the glasses as the trial was called to order, letting the other Republican senators know that they could catch a solid 8 hours of sleep behind the clever disguise. Throw these bad boys on and you'll look super interested, maybe even a little too interested. You'll look exactly like Adam Schiff. A yawning Mitch McConnell said as he handed a pair to Ted Cruz the previous day, Cruz had simply watched The Princess Bride on his phone for the duration of the trial, but was caught by Democrats who hate The Princess Bride and everything else good in this world.
Stop it.
The senators got out their My Pillows and got ready for their solid few hours of sleep. They dreamed about guns, shooting guns, and going to Bass Pro Shop and buying more guns, which ended up being more productive than the impeachment trial. Thanks, Mitch, they all said during a reset as they dropped their glasses into a bin for recycling. Democrats, for their part, donned their trusty angry eyes to show just how outraged they were about President Trump's phone call that everyone else agrees was beautiful and perfect.
It's so great. Let me move. That's wonderful. That literally makes me so happy. So Britt Baza in the UK says, oh, come on. My little mouse here. Michelle, Leah, this impeachment thing on Trump is looking serious. Is everything going to be okay?
Everything's going to be fine. It's not serious at all.
It's literally
just
a joke.
It's a clown show.
It's totally a joke. But it goes back to Nancy Pelosi and the rest. They all knew that the Senate would never convict, that they would never impeach. They will never impeach Trump. The whole idea was election meddling. Mm-hmm. They know that they don't stand a chance. Even if Hillary jumps in, especially if Hillary jumps in, they literally don't stand a chance in the 2020 election. And so even with their election fraud, I don't think that they stand a chance. And so they're just trying to it was a last ditch effort to try to do whatever they could.
And as somebody said, they could have been working on health care. They could have been working on the sex trafficking. They could have been working on illegal immigration. They could have been working on anything to make lives better for Americans. And they're getting up every day telling Americans, I don't care if your kids are sick. I don't care if you can't pay your bills. Yeah. I don't care about you. All I care about is impeaching Donald Trump and staying in power. So you have here George Stephanopoulos makes a throat-slitting gesture to cut away from Trump lawyer. And watch this. This is Jay Sekulow here.
For the president's allies, some players in this trial, Lindsey Graham, Alan Dershowitz, even the Attorney General, have made statements to the effect of abuse of power is impeachable.
You know, we've got something very different than what you're hearing up here. You're hearing, video clips of testimony. We've got lawyers that are going to be put forward when our side of the case goes that represents multiple schools of thought on what is and is not an impeachable offense. But they have one thing in common, that the actions alleged and the actions of the president do not reach that level, no matter which school of thought you're on. And we're not afraid to put out both of those schools of thought, because our position is you still have to meet basic, fundamental constitutional obligations, and they haven't. Next.
How much work do you think you have to convince?
I'm sorry.
How much more work do you think you have ahead to try and convince?
Oops, George.
Jay Sekulow right there, and let's bring in our panel to talk a little bit about that. You just saw.
Did you see that?
George, that's so embarrassing.
I'm sorry.
How much more work do you think you have ahead to try and convince that?
And he knows he gets caught. He's got that look on his face like, whoops.
Because they don't want to hear from presidents. They don't want to hear from the other side. They just want to hear from the Democrats. They literally went on and on and on. It was really disgustingly weird. The MSM fawns in sync over Adam Schiff's marathon impeachment screed. I heard people saying it was like,
But really only time will tell whether or not Schumer's strategy of trying to get all this out there and what was a marathon day will work or not. It all resumes again at 1 o'clock today with a lot of sleepy senators and certainly an exhausted Chief Justice, I presume. Guys?
Thank you very much, Griff. And luckily, it's so exciting. It's going to keep them awake.
Oh my God.
If you watch some of it, there were snippets, and we're showing you the good stuff. It was unbelievably boring.
It was a snore fest.
I don't know how people can follow it.
Basically, Republicans approve the rules. Democrats over and over and over.
11
we want
times.
witnesses. We want
11
witnesses. Yeah, Schumer he wants 11 different things, different amendments, including subpoenaing Mick Mulvaney, including subpoenaing John Bolton. And Republicans have said no, 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 no. Now, some Republicans are saying maybe in the next phase we will. There are those holdouts, those that might vote with the Democrats on this. The Democrats, if they all 45 vote for witnesses, if those 2 independents vote for witnesses, and then all it would take is 4 Republicans to say yes, and there would be witnesses. But right now, Republicans are saying no.
We'll see what happens with that. We watched so that you don't have to watch the entire thing. If you watched it, you felt like you were watching opening arguments. Those haven't even started yet.
Right.
This was just the debate over the rules. And I was sitting back watching last night.
Can you
thinking,
believe that?
This is a circus. And then I thought, and then my wife, Jen,
It's
corrected me and
literally
said,
just a
"No,
debate
these
over the rules."
circuses are entertaining.
Right.
Like, this is just a show. You know how it's going to end. 53-47 on every vote. Now you have 3 days to endure of the House managers, the Democrats making their case.
I don't think the majority of people watched. I think they just turned to us to be able to.
It was
very
just
true.
so bad. But
so Barry says, Michelle, what are Trump's poll ratings for getting the presidency again next year? That's this year. But yeah, obviously, he would be inaugurated next year. His poll ratings are better than ever. I mean,
they are, but here's the thing. They'll put on some polls they'll say Trump beats them.
The polls are different because you can't just say the polls.
Yeah.
Okay, for one. But the polls that are worth following do say that Trump's approval rating has gone up because people are so sick.
Which is
they
huge.
are so sick of what's happening. It's Democrats are seeing this is ridiculous, and so no, I'm not worried about it at all.
Here we have MSNBC, and all the media was like, "Oh, he just pulled out the emotion. It was so emotional. It was dazzling. It was amazing."
Schiff.
Yeah.
Adam Schiff did masterfully what all prosecutors are trained to do. I thought his performance today was absolutely brilliant. It was a virtuoso performance.
Schiff's performance was a virtuoso performance.
He laid out the case against the president clearly, passionately. I thought it was dazzling. Cogently.
Take nothing away from Adam Schiff.
And I believe courageously.
I thought Schiff was very, very good yesterday.
I think Adam Schiff has done a very good job.
Mr. Schiff was awfully impressive.
Schiff is expert at it.
Shows you some of the mastery of what Schiff laid down yesterday.
Adam Schiff was brilliant, I think, in the first 2 hours.
I thought Adam Schiff's presentation yesterday was masterful.
Emerges as one of the most impressive people we've seen in a setting like this.
Powerful
That's
testimony
sad.
and presentation.
That's really
from Adam
sad.
Schiff.
Very, very powerful and forceful speech.
But Adam Schiff rocks. Okay, it's trending.
He rocks nothing.
Remembered, I think.
There is no rocking.
To come.
It was like
Imagine
literally
having to be those people, though.
This is the king has new clothes on. The king's new clothes are so beautiful. Oh my gosh, he's such a big fat slob. He is naked. He is so good looking. Did you see the king's new clothes? That is the MSNBC. That is MSNBC. It is crazy.
You mean the MSM?
Yeah,
Just the
and
mainstream
MSNBC.
media.
Adam Schiff dazzles. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. We're just done.
You ain't seen nothing yet. Wait until Seculo gets up there.
So I wanted to bring this up
Again.
as before we sign off here. Pentagon now says 34 soldiers suffered traumatic brain injuries in the Iran attack, which makes us not attacking Iran that much more significant. And the latest major revelation contradicting the White House and Pentagon significantly downplayed casualty count regarding the January 8th Iranian ballistic missile attack on the Ain al-Assad air base in Iraq. New York Times is reporting that a total of 34 American soldiers have been diagnosed with serious head injuries, ranging from concussion to traumatic brain injury. Pentagon spokesperson Jonathan Hoffman confirmed the much higher number Friday after only a day ago the official toll stood at 11 after the initial January 17th statement, with at least 8 of those which were considered serious enough to transport to a hospital in Germany. Hoffman said that up to half of the 34 have already returned to military duties. However, 17 are still under medical observation, while previously fielding questions at Davos on Wednesday, Trump downplayed what he likened as mere headaches when pressed by about the issue. No casualties as a result of the attack. I have heard they have headaches, he said, addressing what's clearly been an evolving narrative about which actually began with the administration claiming no casualties immediately following the rare Iranian attack which was in response to the Soleimani killing. The Pentagon spokesperson said, the goal is to be transparent, accurate, and provide American people and our service members with the best information. And so we did have Trump saying, you know, headaches and things like that. This is what you do in a giant situation that has worldwide implications that could affect even more deaths. And so they lied. They lied. Okay? When you're in war and you're doing war, you lie. Okay? And if your lie saves some lives, it's a good lie. Okay? There were times even when Israel went in and they lied. You had Rahab
Jim West
lying.
says it best, and I love it because he's a Brit. Anti-Trumpers now upset. Trump played down the U.S. injuries, even though if he admitted it, he'd have to retaliate, which they would then criticize.
Yeah, I mean, I've even seen some lefties say, well, oh my gosh, Trump actually had a reason to go and bomb things. Why didn't he bomb? Why didn't he go into war? So that we could hate him even more.
It's pure insanity.
So you guys need to know what's going on.
Insanity.
And I also need to tell you about this.
Whole neighborhood destroyed in Houston plant explosion. Multiple fatalities and one is still missing.
Houston was rocked by a large explosion this morning, which could be felt for miles across the city. We don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is.
Facility in the
it was
Northwest
at a plant though. So.
Erupted in a massive fireball. Houston police have confirmed that at least 2 people died in the blast, with 1 plant employee still missing, and a criminal investigation is underway. Damage to homes were reported up to a half-mile away after it occurred at about 4:15
Damage was reported
a.m.
up to a half-mile away. Damage.
Yeah, some 18 miles away, you could hear it, though people reported being jolted from their sleep from miles across the city. And
we don't know anybody in Houston. Do you guys?
So here's somebody's house.
Oh my gosh.
Their home.
Their camera. Then the camera goes out, though, by the way. Note that.
Mm-hmm. So I just thought I would let you guys know.
How many people died?
Here. They have cleared this street, so they're telling us to look at the worst for damage. We have this.
Why don't we lead with this?
Move a little closer. This
is the first time hearing of this.
By firefighters because of the damage of these homes. This is the brunt of it.
This should have been our whole story.
People are all gone from these homes right now, but we got the clearance to kind of to walk in. And you can see firefighters.
Maybe Patriot Gallo will cut this one.
Area,
make it its own segment.
A ghost town out here. Look at this.
This is insane.
It's eerie. There's a few
I didn't hear about this all day long.
It's pretty, yeah. Well, I wanted to leave with the March for Life.
Oh my gosh. We have friends in Texas. I get Texas is huge, though. They wouldn't have been affected by this, but this is unreal.
Guys, we're at Rock Crest and Stanford now, and it looks like firefighters are kind of going door to door.
Baker Mom, what are we looking at right now? I'm confused. Is this Australia? This is Houston, Texas, man. A big explosion at a plant. How many people died? I read it out loud and I forgot. 2 people died. One person is missing. We have multiple injuries. An entire neighborhood was destroyed.
Okay, let me just go. We'll go to the MSM here
to
get the latest.
We'll
go to the Houston explosion.
Hey.
So let's go to
get the latest. What's the latest?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Hang on. Leave that up. Oh no, they can't see it. Do that again. There's a thing on your thing now. When you search for things, I want you guys to do something for me. From now on, go to filter. Go over here. There, you can't see this, but there's a thing that says features. Drop down to Creative Commons. No results found. Okay, nobody in the Creative Commons area has done a video on this. We will have now. It's supposed to be YouTubers instead of ABC, NBC, CBS. So if you want to get YouTubers, go to the Creative Commons and it'll bypass the mainstream media.
That's really cool. 6 o'clock news starts right now.
A new fire union contract may be on the horizon. KSAT 12 has learned the arbitration team for this
hall where members have been meeting this afternoon. Garrett, do we know the details of this contract yet?
Wait, where's
that they could not
re-election in November.
She was raped and
Where is she? It just must be the whole their whole
but
news
rather
segment.
the impact of a strong. You can tell just how.
It doesn't end where the suffered heavy damage.
The Center City development and operation.
From the massive warehouse explosion you see behind me were employees at
warehouse?
Watson Grinding and Manufacturing. The explosion happened around 4:30 this morning. The warehouse makes valves and provides thermal spray coating for equipment. The building was reduced to burning rubble and debris, and some of the surrounding buildings suffered heavy damage to parts of their walls and roofs.
That's insane.
That damage expected to take days to clean up, but it's damage that doesn't end where the warehouse is located.
It's like a tornado.
Nearby neighborhoods also felt an impact. Sally Mamdouh from our sister station KPRC spoke to residents impacted.
You can tell just how strong this explosion was by the impact that it left on these homes. This is just one of the many homes that you can't get inside because it's too dangerous. Many of the people that live out here had to leave, and they're told not to come back for maybe a couple of weeks.
Wait a minute, pause right there.
Busted garage doors.
I want to know why they can't come back.
Roofs isn't the work of Mother Nature, but rather the impact of a strong explosion less than a mile away.
And it knocked us all out of our bed. It was so strong. Busted out every single window in our house.
The impact even trapped some.
And then the whole ceiling caved in on me. And I couldn't get out because the ceiling was on me.
Yes. A nice family came and helped dig her out. Some horrifying moments for Spring Branch area residents who early Friday morning found themselves in the radius of the explosion that happened at the Watson Grinding and Manufacturing Company.
I saw glass all overshadowed my window, and I just went out into the living room and I just yelled for my mom. This area right over here.
Inside Karen Block's home, scattered debris everywhere. The kitchen's wall separated.
And all the sheetrock that came down in our house, it's a miracle that none of it landed
How
on
do you
our
like?
head.
Can you
Karen
sue?
says in
Like,
the midst of the chaos, her
I wouldn't
daughter
want my
took
own
off and is
homeowners
now
insurance to pay for
missing.
that.
Well, when
I didn't
opened
do
the
it.
garage door from inside the house, she bolted.
It wasn't
The
an act of
devastating
God.
aftermath has red tape wrapped around homes for blocks. Firefighter crews deeming many of the homes at the intersection of Bridgetland Lane and Stanford Court uninhabitable.
That's what I was thinking. These people aren't going to be able to move back into their homes. They're just broken. Yeah.
Some are trying to pack up
they're
what they
done.
can grab.
You'd never be
Even
able
though
to
the homes
ensure
were
the structural
damaged, as
integrity
you
of
can
that home
see,
again.
We really didn't see any major injuries. Only 2 people were injured, and those were minor injuries.
people
So
were
it is
injured.
amazing that despite this significant damage, only 2 people in this neighborhood, had minor injuries.
We're talking
In
about
West
at the
Houston, Sally
place.
Mamdouh.
Oh my
The Texas
gosh.
Department of Public Safety is investigating an officer involved.
Okay, so that is that's the
terrifying.
update there. I mean, absolutely crazy.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, so I don't know what to say about it, but you know,
Just pray for them.
Yeah.
And if they do a GoFundMe, send them some money. Like, that's horrific. I can't even imagine, because you kind of, I think in this world, we all try to set ourselves up for the worst, for hearing bad news about maybe a family member in a car accident, or if we live in an area prone to tornadoes, we imagine that. If we live in an area prone to hurricanes, we imagine that.
That
We
was
prepare
11
ourselves
miles.
for a lot of different things, but you can't prepare yourself 11 miles away. Unbelievable. You can't prepare yourself unless you live next to a nuclear plant for something like a random explosion. Most of us don't prepare ourselves mentally for that. That's just Jim West says it looked like the aftermath of a storm or flood incident.
yeah, here's this 500 yards away.
Mom says military doing live drills in Florida with live bombs. It was the military. You know
Somebody
what?
was
I
messing
wouldn't put
with
it past.
something they
I
shouldn't
wouldn't
have
put
been
it past.
Messing
There's
with.
a lot of crazy stuff that goes on down in Texas. I'd be curious what Alex Jones had to say about it. Aren't they in Houston?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Boarding up their houses and preparing to leave
Austin.
now. I spotted this, and I have to show you. In the back of this SUV, someone is bringing all their parakeets out of here. They just want their little birds to be safe.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh, people are putting whatever they can in their houses, and also they're boarding up their homes. Look
Yeah, so you don't have theft.
You could have the garage door just like tacked to the outside of
Right?
that house.
Like people could just go in and steal stuff.
People are afraid about looters tonight.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Our Chief Art Estimator talking about that in a press conference.
I hope that they have police
saying,
surveilling the area
If
constantly.
you are caught looting, you will be prosecuted. This will not be a slap on the wrist. We saw it during Harvey.
Yeah, I hope you go to jail, hopefully for a really long time, taking advantage of somebody in this kind
John
of situation.
goes, I wonder what this plant is really producing.
Good question.
That is a very good question. It's a meth lab.
Look at that home. Look at that home.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, thoughts and prayers to our
thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers to our friends and fellow citizens over there in Houston.
That's crazy.
So,
all right,
yeah.
so we're going to sign off. Do you have a song?
I don't. I wanted to sing, actually, I wanted to sing some of the songs that I had written, and I went to sing today,
and
it didn't seem to come out right.
Moab, Mom says.
My squeaker.
Mother of all bombs.
My squeaker.
It wasn't that mother of all bombs, but it was still pretty.
So that song, my Isaiah
significant.
61 song is what I wanted to sing. I don't think my voice is ready for that one. I think it's got to be something more monotone. So if you have like a simple song, maybe a hymn of some sort.
Oh, and the video on rock. We will try to do that on Sunday. Tomorrow, we will be at the Rogue Food Conference.
Yes!
I'm really excited about this. Thomas Massey, Joel Salatin, a couple of other people, several other speakers.
So excited!
We'll be doing interviews, and it's so important to cover the food movement, because that's the grassroots answer for fixing our nation. And Thomas Massey is on the front lines of that. Joel Salatin is on the front lines of that.
That's where our heart is. That's why we're trying to change the world, so I can just farm and raise kids and everything be simple.
Exactly.
You know, so I'm trying to spread the gospel so we can get things changed around here. And what's happening is I'm seriously excited. But there are things you can do to get around the imperial empire in the midst. And so it's a rogue food movement. We're going to talk about how to set up a food church and 501c3 so that you can get things happening, because there's so many laws against you being able to have animals and grow food and things like that. And you should be allowed to grow your own food. This is daggone America. You should be able to grow whatever you need to grow, sell whatever you need to sell.
Right.
Make it happen.
So we will be back here on Sunday. And I asked Barry to remind me to do the video on the rock. I want to put that in there, creating the rock, how to do that. So
let's sing just a regular hymn here.
Be Thou My Vision is wonderful, wonderful song.
Be Thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Not be all else to me, save that Thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Be thou my wisdom and thou my true word. I ever with thee and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, I thy true Son. Thou in me dwelling and I with thee one. Be thou my battle shield, sword for the fight. Be thou my dignity, thou my delight. Thou my soul shelter, thou my high tower. Raise thou me heavenward, O power of thy power. Riches I heed not, nor man's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance, now and always. Thou and thou only, first in my heart. High King of heaven, thy treasure thou art. High my King of heaven, my victory won. May I reach heaven's joys, oh bright heaven's sun. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, oh ruler of all.
That is absolutely hands down one of my favorite all-time hymns. I love, love, love that. If I had to whittle it down to 3, it would be that one, Amazing Grace, and
Come Thou
Fount of Every Blessing. I love those hymns. I think they're absolutely amazing. Barry, you're welcome. He got our card in the mail. I'm glad it finally made it across the pond.
Yes.
So hopefully we'll be back tomorrow live. If not, we're definitely going to be recording videos that we will edit and put together for you guys, so that you can get a feel for what tomorrow's going to be like. But I'm just really excited about it. Not just to get new information from the speakers, but to be a part of a group of people that have the same heart. And here's the interesting thing.
And they're going to have some good food.
It's bipartisan.
Yeah,
there will be people. I'm not going to be wearing Trump
righty.
stuff because I don't want to offend anybody.
Right.
Because there will be people from both sides of the aisle that have the same mission, and I want to focus on what brings us together to save our country rather than what divides us. So, all right. We love you guys. God loves you. God bless. Remember,
just a conspiracy theory.
It's not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. Please like, comment, and subscribe to both of our channels, Mass Faith 3 and Resistance Chicks. Ring the bell so that you get notifications. If you like to see more videos of this, you need to ring that bell, or like this. Send us your letters. P.O. Box 107, Milford, Ohio 45150. We will read them on air. I don't know where they are at. I told you guys we'd do a mail call. Maybe we'll do it Sunday because I don't know where I put them.
Oops.
It's kind of chaos down here because we were planting things and grow lights and stuff. I really have no idea where
it's pretty chaotic down here.
It is. It's really, really chaotic. All right, hang on. Let me see if there was any other. I missed the. So on Periscope, Oregon says that was hours ago, right? Not much coverage. This is strange. So crazy. I wasn't really in the other chats as much today, so let's see. Daniel Wathan on
that's a really great screenshot.
Facebook says, I like the virtuous tea. Oh, that's mine. That might be an excellent gift for my wife and the other excellent sisters I know. Did you order this online? Okay, so this virtuous woman Proverbs 31 shirt we got, it says, look for a virtuous woman, moral excellence. It came from the Christian bookstore. I think it was on clearance years ago.
Closed it down, the Christian bookstore.
And I thought that it would be fitting to wear on the Walk for Life show. Terry had pointed it out as well. So, yes, thank you. I'm glad that somebody noticed it. We should wear more Christian shirts on our show. People might appreciate that more. Okay, we'll be back here tomorrow, I'm sure at some point live, but for sure on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be doing a video on how you make these rock candies and how you put the letters in there. It's going to be so exciting. It's going to be the best part of our whole show, but we will be talking about Meghan Markle and Harry and all that, and Brexit is like official, man. I mean, it has
the Queen Seal.
The Queen Seal's on there.
1 week.
We've got I think there are officials at the European Union that have actually signed stuff already. So on the 31st, we are gone.
You're gone.
We are out of because we are you.
We're a team.
And you are us, and you're
Team Brexit, baby.
We are Team Brexit. And I'm very, very excited about this. So we probably will be going live. What day of the week is the 31st? That's a Friday? Oh, yeah. Next Friday. If you're here a week from now, it's going to be Brexit coverage. It's going to be Brexit coverage for sure.
Faux show.
All right. I'm really going to sign off now. I'm going to close out all my windows. Okay. Oh, and nope, that's it. The ending. Love you. God bless.
I was caught